When you think of Bhutan, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's this image of a peaceful, almost magical kingdom tucked away in the Himalayas. But today, we're going to pull back that curtain to reveal a story of profound injustice told through the eyes of someone who lived it, Vidhyapati Mishra.
And yeah, this is the image sold to the world, right? A peaceful Buddhist paradise, a real-life Shangri-La that seems totally untouched by all the chaos of the modern world.
But this is the big question we're digging into. What if behind this picture-perfect image of serenity, there's a really complex and painful story that the world has, for the most part, just ignored? Now, this is what really put Bhutan on the map. The idea of measuring a country's success not by money, but by gross national happiness, it was totally revolutionary, and the world fell in love with it. I mean, on the surface, it's a beautiful, forward-thinking idea. But this is where that beautiful story just shatters. For the author of our source, and for tens of thousands of others, gross national happiness is nothing but a cruel joke. This one sentence just blows that whole carefully built image to pieces.
So let's move away from the big national brand and get personal. We're going to zoom right in on the story of one community and one family whose entire world was about to be turned upside down.
To really get this story, you need to know who the Lhotshampa are. The name literally means people of the South. They're Bhutanese citizens with Nepalese roots. And here's the key thing. Many of their families had been in Bhutan for generations after being invited there to farm the southern lands. They were not outsiders, they were a core part of the country.
And just listen to how the author describes the life they had. You can just picture it, can't you? This wasn't just a house, it was a home, a farm, a whole self-sufficient world they had built over generations. And this is the life that was about to be completely erased.
So how in the world does this happen? How do you go from being a farmer and a citizen to a stateless refugee? Well, this next part details that tragic, devastating turning point.
You know, this didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, systematic process. It started in the mid-80s, when they began tightening citizenship laws, making it harder for the Lhotshampa. Then came this one nation, one people policy, which basically forced the majority Drupa culture on everyone. They even banned the Nepali language in schools. And when the Lhotshampa peacefully protested, the response was swift and brutal, leading to the mass expulsion in 1992.
And this is the moment where national policy becomes a terrifying personal reality. I mean, just imagine it. A normal day, your family's just having snacks. And then, suddenly, your front door bursts open and your whole world shatters.
The official charge was treason, waging war against the government. It's just unbelievable. But the reality described here is just brute force against a civilian, in his own home, right in front of his wife and kids.
91. For 91 days, the author's father was imprisoned and tortured. For 3 long, agonizing months, his family had no idea if he was even alive or dead.
The details of what they did to him are just horrific. This wasn't just jail time. It was systematic torture, designed to absolutely break a person's body and spirit. Things like burning dried chilies in his cell just to make it impossible to breathe. It's just hard to comprehend.
And this was the end game. This was the whole point of the torture. After 91 days, they forced him to sign a so-called voluntary migration form. Voluntary. Can you believe that? With the signature they beat out of him, his family was given 1 week to abandon the only home they had ever known for 4 generations.
Being kicked out of their country was just the beginning of this whole ordeal. What came next was decades of uncertainty, living as refugees in neighboring Nepal. Let's just pause on this number for a second. Nearly 100,000 people. To put that in perspective, at the time, this was roughly 1/6 of Bhutan's entire population. This was a staggering act of ethnic cleansing.
And for the author and his family, that displacement lasted for 21 years. Imagine that, 2 full decades stuck in a refugee camp. An entire generation grew up knowing nothing but life as a stateless person.
So, where are they now? Well, over 80,000 have been resettled in countries like the United States, which is a good thing. But the crisis is far from over. Tens of thousands of Lhotshampa are still living in those refugee camps, their lives just completely on hold.
And this highlights a really bitter paradox. While resettlement is an absolute lifeline for individual families, it lets them finally start over, it also lets the Bhutanese government off the hook. It relieves the pressure on them to actually address the horrible injustice they committed in the first place.
And this brings us to today. Because even though so much time has passed and many people have been resettled, the fundamental issues of justice and the right to return home, they remain completely unresolved.
You know, you might have hoped that when Bhutan became a democracy back in 2008, it would open the door for some kind of reconciliation. But according to the author, the government has just stonewalled. They'd refused to even address the issue, and any talks with Nepal have gone nowhere.
So, the author finishes with a direct appeal for international action. He says Bhutan has to allow the Lhotshampa to return and give them full civil rights. The UN needs to step up and enforce its own rules on refugees. India, as a major power next door, should apply some pressure. And Nepal needs more support. It's a very clear multi-front call for justice.
And we end on this powerful, lingering question. As long as the world only sees the myth of Shangri-La, what hope is there for the people who were sacrificed to create it? What hope is there for a path home?